So we're going to get into budget preparation, which is module 3 of your eighth paper, which is basically into planning process, which is there. Now, this particular aspect is the third module in your entire course program for the module. The learning objective is how to basically understand a training budget, the purpose of the training budget, what should be the prerequisites into the training budget, what are the various characteristics that you have to consider, or the importance of the training budget and the principles that you have to include in the training budget, responsibilities of preparing a training budget, and the training budget process chart. And in the end, we will also try and understand the different types of budgets that has been considered and what kind of variance and other reportings have to be also taken into account. So before which, I just wanted to ask, does anybody here manage a training budget before we can start off the session? Bhakti, Radhika, Rahul, Vaishnavi, Sandeep, Dr. Deepthi, does any one of you have a training budget? Okay, Bhakti says no. Deepthi, Dr. Deepthi, if you can possibly respond.
What's I didn't get you. Sorry, I just joined.
Sorry. So what I was trying to ask you is, are you the custodian of preparing a training budget?
Not as of now in my company.
Not as. What do you take care of, Deepthi, if you can understand?
So I am into different projects. That is like the new interventions of leadership,
Okay.
and few from the central team, also from Opcom that has come.
Okay.
And also I'm taking care of few calendar programs.
Okay. So few calendar programs as well. But do you also get an outsourced trainer for any of the programs?
Yes, we do.
Okay. When you consider an external trainer, what are the aspects of cost that you would take into consideration while delivering a program?
So in our case, so right now, I mean, in the current company, it's just one ballpark figure, and everything has to be done by the respective agency or the trainer.
Okay.
But in my previous company, we used to have the trainer delivery cost plus their traveling accommodation and plus content development, if any, or if they are carrying a book or something, or if no, accordingly.
Okay. 90% of the cases, the reason why we have a training budget is most of the training programs that has been carried out or conducted, if there's a lack of an internal trainer. And in that case, then you basically have to have an external agency or a freelancer or possibly a company or a group of people carrying out this process who are called consultants to execute the program. And hence, there is a very important consideration that has to be given in terms of what should be the commercial that you will consider before you even, for that matter of fact, announce this program. And hence, the reason why this comes into play, there's a major reason to this. The reason is any staff who undergoes a training program, it is believed by the organization that there should be an increase in the productivity or the retention level of the person, and requires less amount of supervision, guidance, or possibly mentoring and coaching by his senior member. Or if he's in a client relationship, this service level should improve, or lower the complaints or boost the sales. Otherwise, training is considered to be a cost if there is no return from it. And hence, when you closely consider training programs, you basically try to understand what a training budget is, what are the elements that has to be taken into consideration. And here there is direct and indirect costs and resources that is used to train the employees in an organization. Would anybody be able to give me some insight, if I can ask you, what would be the direct elements or the indirect elements in a training budget? What could be the direct elements in a training budget?
A trainer is the direct element.
Okay. What is the cost element that we are trying to consider here?
Cost element as in?
Trainer cost means per day training cost.
Per day training cost. Okay. Anybody else?
Achha, that ways. Okay.
Yeah. So what would be the direct element that you'll have to take into consideration when it comes to, let's say, a training direct cost? What and all would you consider?
Per day cost and logistics.
Okay. What else?
Infrastructure.
Okay.
Then also the training stationery or something, if that has to be provided
Okay. Now,
during the training.
wonderful. Let me ask you this, all of you. When you create a training program,
Hmm.
what are the costs that is directly associated with creating a training program? What is the first cost that you will generally see?
In my case, we used to consider only that trainer cost per day training cost.
Training delivery cost, no? That will be generally seen.
Okay.
Psychometric, if any, then that cost will be generally seen.
Okay, let me ask you these questions. If you can
Mhm.
try and keep your videos on. Let me ask you this question. Would you consider a training need analysis to be a cost?
Yes, it is a cost.
Would it be a direct cost?
Indirect cost, I guess.
Is TNA
It
indirect cost or a direct
depends.
cost?
I mean, if there is a company
Mm-hmm.
who is who's actually getting this TNI done from the external agency,
Mm-hmm.
or if there is an in-house L&D who is doing it.
Okay.
So it again differs.
Okay. What about
But my
asset?
concept about direct and indirect is a little skeptical, so I'm not sure if I'm actually nailing it.
What are others' view on a TNA or a TNI? Bhakti,
So
Sandeep,
in
Gopal. Yeah, Radhika, go ahead.
Yes. So this year, first time, I was part of the TNI meeting. So, uh, in that, so what we do is basically in our organization, we meet the HODs, head of the departments. We set up call with them, and that's when we discuss what are the training needs for the coming financial year for their teams. So we
Okay.
try and understand if there is any specific team member or any specific team which requires any behavioral training or any functional or technical training. We note it down and we try to incorporate in our training budget. So
Okay.
that's how we conduct meeting with each department heads.
Department. Anybody else has a different view of a direct cost in a training? Okay, if you have this handy, any which ways this is going to be recorded. So any cost that is included in basically facilitating a training session, which means a trainer who's facilitating the session, designing the training material, renting out a space or hiring an equipment for conducting that particular program, any kind of asset production, that is basically if you have handouts or if you have booklets or if you have other aspects which is there, all those costs become your direct cost. Any queries on this?
Will you be able to repeat this? I mean, only production cost is direct, or other than that also?
Let's say, for instance, if I have to do a
Your
complete,
voice is very low, I'm sorry.
yeah, so I have to turn out the video because I'm at a very remote location. So if you can kindly turn off the video and then stop. Is that okay with all of you?
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
Sure.
right. Now, any cost that is incurred to directly produce a training content, a training material is a direct cost.
Okay.
Okay. Any
Okay.
cost that goes into preparing the training content is a direct cost.
Okay.
The cost of facilitating a training program is a direct cost.
Okay.
Renting out a space, which is a hall, a seminar hall, or whatever sort of hall, is a direct cost.
Mhm. Then
Rent,
what is coming in indirect?
I'll tell you what is come first. Let me clear up what is direct then. Hiring an
Okay.
equipment is direct. Okay. Let's say you have taken certain amount of stationaries, all those things come into direct cost. Now, what is indirect cost? Indirect cost is the time taken to train, which means there are people who are there whose salaries are there,
Hmm.
who don't attend a day's work. That comes under
Productivity.
indirect cost. Food comes under indirect cost. Your
Won't
transport,
that be direct?
No, food is indirect. Food is, refreshment which is there.
मतलब यार
Created at a factory.
ना चॉकलेट कंपनी
So direct cost basically means the cost incurred directly to facilitate a training
Absolutely.
program.
A training program that enables you to facilitate, to run the program, to execute the program is a direct cost. Any material that goes into it, any material facilitation that supports it is all direct cost. Are we clear about this?
सर व्हाट
Yes.
अबाउट द ट्रैवलिंग कॉस्ट मींस इफ वी हैव
हाँ,
टू
तो आपका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट होता है, आपका लॉजिंग कॉस्ट इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट है. Let's say an outstation person travels into your location is an indirect cost.
Okay.
Let's say a person takes a flight, a train, a bus, a taxi is indirect cost.
Indirect.
Indirect. Are we clear?
Okay.
उसको वहां पहुंचने के लिए वो सारी चीजें including lodging, let's say whatever refreshment he has is all indirect cost.
Okay.
Are we clear?
Mm.
Yes, yes.
Any questions?
Sir, trainer's cost is a direct cost.
Trainer cost is direct cost because वो directly involved है.
Yeah, and he's directly involved in giving the training, no?
अच्छा, अब मैं आपको थोड़ा सा सवाल करता हूँ. Let's try and answer this. Okay, quick quiz. Let's play a T20 tournament. Sketch pens,
Direct cost.
marker,
Direct cost.
Direct cost.
flip chart,
Direct
Direct
cost.
Direct
cost.
cost.
training portfolio,
Direct
Direct
cost.
cost.
training printed material,
Direct
Direct.
cost.
case study scenario sheet.
Direct
Direct.
cost.
Okay. Transportation to training location.
Indirect cost.
Indirect.
Direct cost.
Tea refreshment at hotel.
Indirect.
Indirect cost.
Stay at hotel.
Indirect.
Indirect.
One additional stay at a venue.
Indirect
Indirect.
cost.
Guest house cost.
इनडायरेक्ट
Acha. Trainer guest house cost.
Indirect.
Indirect cost.
Trainer train ticket.
इनडायरेक्ट
Indirect.
Very good.
That would be direct, na? Trainers in train ticket and
ट्रेनर आया
trainer.
हुआ है उसका कॉस्ट जो है आपका इनडायरेक्ट आएगा. ट्रेनर सिखा रहा है उसका कॉस्ट डायरेक्ट आएगा.
Okay.
So his training fees will be direct cost.
Training fees will be direct cost. Got it?
Rest of his expenses would be indirect cost.
Right. Example, Radhika, if let's say, for instance, your company has a policy, okay, that the trainer who's a senior trainer can travel by flight. A junior trainer who comes to train does not get a flight ticket, he gets a train ticket.
Okay.
These are indirect cost elements decided by policy. Now, includes cost of courses, books, and other learning materials. So this is direct cost. Are we clear about this now?
Yes.
It also includes indirect costs like wages, compensation, and time spent in setting up the training. तो आपके बजट में wages भी आता है. Let's say, for instance, 10 people, each of salary 45,000, attends a 2-day training program. What is the indirect cost?
The salary of those 2 days.
Absolutely. So salary of 2 days becomes indirect. Acha. If they stay in a hotel also,
I'm sorry.
if they stay in a hotel too,
Indirect cost.
indirect cost. So all those things get into the indirect cost. Are we clear about this?
And how, even if we take a support staff, in that case, maybe an office boy or something for the support.
Right.
So even that will be an indirect cost.
Absolutely. Acha, let me give you a further example. Let's say, for instance, you have a management development center. Okay. Your management development center has got 20 training rooms. It has got 10 people who are going to manage the facility. The 10 people who are managing the facility have to do housekeeping, have to arrange the chairs, have to arrange all those things, have to make sure that the water, refreshment, everything is there. Will this come at direct cost or indirect cost?
Indirect cost.
This is indirect cost. Are we clear about this? Prince, Preeti,
So any support thing is indirect.
anything that is direct cost. Are we clear?
सर आई हैव वन क्वेश्चन
हाँ जी.
So, if with the trainer and employee is also traveling, going
Hmm.
at the location,
Hmm.
so can we consider that cost also an indirect cost, or
Let's say OBT session. Let's take this, Rahul. We are doing an OBT session, outbound training.
yes, yes, yes.
Am I
One train
audible?
cover, yes.
Yes, sir.
OBT
But
session.
because
I'm
mostly I
doing
used to travel with a trainer. Yes, yes,
हाँ,
you are audible.
तो OBT session करते वक्त आपका अगर travel is to let's say Lonavala from Bombay, we hire a bus, trainer, everybody comes. Trainer, let's say, comes from a different city. Delhi से trainer आते हैं. He comes to Mumbai and then he travels to Lonavala. Now, can you tell me what are the indirect cost elements in this?
The bus cost, okay,
बस हो गया और
the stay, the food, and the
Train,
Refreshment.
etc.
maybe
Refreshment.
preparation, but the hotel venue cost may be direct cost for the
okay. When you where the training is conducted is direct cost. What are
yes.
the other things that will be indirect cost?
Food and all.
Food, their lodging.
Yes,
The
food and
stay.
lodging.
Acha, would lodging be direct, Ramesh, or indirect?
So lodging will be indirect.
Indirect. Very good. Acha, Ramesh, the refreshment during the training program.
During the training program in indirect, sir.
How?
Refreshment during the training.
I'm going to ask you quizzes such that we are very clear about the logic. Prince, what do you think, direct or indirect?
The lodging seems to be indirect.
Indirect. What is the logic behind lodging, food, refreshment being indirect? Anybody here?
Sir,
Arshad? Ankita, please go ahead.
probably, sir, you said that executing program is the direct cost.
Absolutely. So execution
Does
of
it?
the program
Yes.
is a direct cost, right?
So
Anything?
during
Yeah, please go ahead.
Food, lodging.
refreshment, this will come under direct cost.
Food, lodging will come under direct or indirect?
Food lodgings are indirect cost.
Indirect cost. Acha. Now, since we have gone up to here, let me ask you also this question. If I can ask you all this question, what do you think would be the 4 components of the training budget? 4 components. Yeah, Radhika, go ahead. Please ask me the question.
Just 1 second before that, like even if the training venue is where people will be staying, the lodging would also be there. Still, it would be indirect cost, right?
Radhika, the training place which has been hired, which
Right.
means the hall, is a
Hmm.
direct cost.
Right. But at the same venue, if we are taking care of the lodging of the participants and the trainer, it would be indirect
It
cost.
will be indirect cost, Radhika.
Oh.
Are we clear about this?
Yes.
All of us. If I can have a thumbs up, please. All of us are clear? Any doubts?
And what about the sound setup? It would be direct cost,
It
right?
will be all direct. Radhika, anything that is related to the delivery or the execution of the program is a direct cost.
Okay.
Got it?
It
What-
means, sir, all the technological support will be the direct.
आपका जितना भी equipment रहेगा वो direct रहेगा.
Yeah, yes.
AV, audio visual, anything in terms of projection, anything that is there is all direct cost. Any doubts, ladies and gentlemen? Shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, what could be the 4 elements that could be there or components to a training budget? ऐसे 4 क्या components है जो training budget में आ सकते हैं?
Trainer's cost,
Okay, beautiful. What else?
In trainer cost,
Logistic cost.
including all the internal, external, and this anyone expert, any.
हाँ, वो सारे आ गए. Excellent. और
So logistic cost.
Education material.
logistics cost, okay. Then material, okay. Where do we start the training? So training budget में क्या क्या component होना चाहिए? Ankita, let's say for instance, you are hiring me as a consultant for a trainer. What would be you consider under the training budget?
First of all, trainer cost, then logistic cost, then So I could, I mean, I have just question mark the trainer cost, which includes traveling cost, which is which comes under direct cost, which you said.
Trainers travel is indirect cost.
Huh. Yes, sir. Transportation is.
Transportation is indirect. Anybody else? What components would you consider in your training budget? Training शुरू होने से बहुत पहले.
Content development.
Content उसके पहले. What happens before that?
Sir,
Pre-assessment.
the TNI, training need
Cost per
analysis.
employee.
Training need assessment.
Yeah.
Note this down. Sometimes you hire an external agency, sometimes you have your own, but there is a direct cost element to it. Yes or no?
Right, sir.
Interviews, questionnaires, all those details that you collect, you spend man hours to do that. Yes or no? Okay. The next thing is your training objective. You're setting the training objective. Is that a component that has to be considered in the training budget? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes.
Do we have to consider a training objective as a component in a training budget? If yes, why? If no, why?
Because after assessment, it could be considered. Because after assessment, you need to also nail down the objectives of what path the training needs to be delivered. Because each assessment, each point would actually go in different direction.
Okay.
So you have to consolidate and bring it to a particular module or the training topic.
So what does it lead to? Does it lead to mandates? Does it lead to areas that need to be explored? What does that lead to?
It leads to the efforts and the time that the internal team or external team is putting to consolidate the data and completely coming up with the training plan or the training calendar in that case.
Wonderful. Then the training cost comes into place.
This is D-Day cost, I mean, implementation cost.
Delivery cost. You understand the training cost, which is there, all the content development, everything that goes into it. Then you calculate the return on investment.
What is training cost, you said?
Training cost is basically the cost of executing a program.
So that is the implementation
direct
cost.
and indirect cost, all elements come into this.
Okay.
Is anybody having a doubt on this?
No, sir, this is clear.
Is it clear? Very clear? So, सबसे पहले you do
I have a
assessment.
doubt on return on investment.
Okay. Now, why is return on investment a component to be considered? Yeah, Bhakti, go ahead.
Sir, I have doubt with training objective. Like, can
Acha.
you give an example how it could be the part of the training budget?
Let's say you do a training need assessment for a sales onboarding session. Okay, Bhakti?
Yes, sir.
Now, the sales onboarding session is going to be done for 650 employees.
Okay.
This is going to be done in 4 different regions. And the objective is to train the team on sales fundamentals and the way we do sales.
Okay.
Now, when they're doing this, the stakeholders come and say that they want specific areas to be covered.
Okay.
And a field assessment has to be done.
Okay.
Okay. So not only the program, you're trying to see whether the program is realizing in terms of deliverables, right?
Okay.
That need is going to be defined in a training objective. Training objective says the so-called training program with a certain amount of skill set, competencies, and areas that needs to be covered has to be a classroom session followed by a one-day mentoring, followed by a field, followed by once again a follow-up session.
Okay.
To meet the requirement, right?
Yes.
So when you do this, you also come to know that with your internal trainers, how much you can manage and how much you need from the external trainers.
Okay. Okay.
Because the objective has to be met by X man days.
Okay.
Right? To deliver this entire thing, then you do an assessment to find out who is going to deliver the program, correct?
Okay. Okay.
So now you come on to the cost, which is called the training cost from that, correct?
Correct.
And to meet the training need assessment, you also have to do a ROI.
Yes.
So you do an assess study, and from the assess study, you lead to a study that basically helps you understand whether there is a progression or not, correct?
Yes.
Simple as that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Got it? Is everybody clear? Does anybody have a question before we proceed? Vaishnavi, Sandeep, Rahul, Ramesh, Sarika, Sriram, Sudhakar, Preeti, Prince. Does anybody have a question here? All good? Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, why do you think training budgets are so important for, let's say, an organization, an L&D team, a team that is into L&D coordination with both internal and external trainers? Why do you think it's so critical to have this budget?
Since an organization is working for the ultimate goal, that is money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And means what budget they are going to spend to training means will reflect on that.
Okay. और कुछ होगा जिस कारण से जो ट्रेनिंग बजट इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है?
For
I think
better planning.
yes.
Okay. Planning of,
बजट तो इम्पोर्टेंट होता ही है कोई भी कारण हो. It's like it's the key.
Acha, let me give you another scenario and then you all give me an answer. Okay. You are an organization that services Samsung phones. Okay. All of you are from an organization that services Samsung phone. Now, for the division that services the Samsung phone, there is a front office and there's a back office. The back office are technical people and the front office are people who receive the mobile or the device and they basically send it for service. Of late, it's been observed that people have raised a lot of complaints that people have been very arrogant. The service has been pretty slow. There's no right kind of update that has been given on what happens with the mobile or what kind of process is being followed. Now, the question that I have for you is, you first tell me what would be the training need assessment that you'll do. What would be the training objective? What would you consider under the training cost? And how will you lead to a ROI?
I think first need to understand the customer handling issues.
Okay.
That's right. So we need to find out where is the gap. If handling the customer or repairing the service, which area need to be improved.
Okay.
After
Wonderful.
find out in that,
Mhm.
we set a training for the correct audience. Is the
Correct.
front office staff or the back end?
Okay, Arshad, can I ask you this? You are doing
Yes.
a TNA. Okay.
Okay.
Say not only Arshad, all of you are doing a TNA. You found that this is the issue that has come from a customer satisfaction survey.
Okay.
Okay. Now you're going to develop a training budget. Now, when you're going to
Okay.
develop a training budget, where do you start?
I think in this session we need to give a physical session, not online.
No. My question is, where do you start?
The
Anybody?
training plan.
Okay. Do you start with the training plan or before that you start with something else?
We'll start with customer dissatisfaction is there, then it is because of what?
Okay. You'll do a deep
What
study.
customers are
Correct?
dissatisfied.
Okay. Wonderful, Bhakti. What from there?
Training objective.
Then, if it is from the, if they're dissatisfied from the services, then services which are provided by the front office, then the training would be given to them. If it is something related to back office, then training would be given to back office
Okay.
employees.
So, would you all agree that there could be a behavior or there could be also a soft skill or a technical area also that has to be considered?
Yes,
Or the personal skills. So all those elements have to be studied.
yes.
Now, when you do the study and then you go back to this division head, what do you discuss? You bring a fact sheet. What do you discuss? Sriram, Prince,
The main-
what do you do?
the major
Yeah, sir.
discussion points, what are the mistakes in our services and how we can improve that, and that how we will help to grow our business.
Okay. Now, Arshad, you have picked up what we have to do, what we have to do in detail. You have picked this up. Now, let's say Prince is the head of this particular service, and Prince has an annual turnover in terms of service of, let's say, 50 crores. Okay. How would you convince Prince that we need to have a technical training, we need to have a service-oriented training, we need to have an emotional intelligence training, and all those aspects after you study? How do you tell Prince about this? How do you go about convincing it?
Because with the data, we can convince him, because lack of this training and behavioral system, we losing our customer to another service or another brand. So it will affect our business. So
Okay.
if we give the proper training in on time, it will
Okay.
affect to improve the service and better customer satisfaction.
Okay.
So it's important.
So, Arshad, would you justify this with numbers? Would you take all the 600 employees to train, or would you just take a certain number of employees to train?
Actually, that only we can say after the surveys and feedback. It's a particular group of employees issue or entire team. That is decide.
Now, let's say, for
So
instance,
maybe some voice which I'm in traveling. Sorry.
okay, no worries at all. I just wanted to ask you all this question. I asked you this question, why is training budget so critical? The question
Because
was,
there are
Because if we get a good training budget, then we can provide a good training in another facility. Otherwise, we compromise the training, it will affect the result.
okay,
No,
anybody
no.
else?
Now there are two
Explain
types
that.
of training that has to be conducted. Like one is interpersonal training, then one is front office training. So for that, a budget should be there, right? Like
Absolutely.
how they are going to allocate. Like if there is an external agency, there are some internal trainers as well. So how they are going to divide all and how they are going to make a budget.
Okay, let's say, for instance, X was the budget decided before the year started, after a lot of planning. But because of business issues, there is an increase in budget. Let's say you're going to spend X plus 10% X. So there's an increase. So if you have a budget, and if you want to tweak the budget to see that certain regular programs have to be called off and specific programs have to be run because this is high on priority for business, there could be an increase in training budget, or you'll have to manage the training budget. Second is, whenever there is an increased number of training of employees, direct and indirect cost effect is also there. Would you agree to this or not?
Yes.
Right? So you're not just considering your budget from the training point of view. You're also considering the indirect cost. Now, please note the other one. Increased value of intellectual capital. What happens? You're producing more content. You have to pay for that more content. Agreed? Disagreed?
Agree.
Right? Now, there's another important aspect, which is you have to invest into development of the employees. So there's a time that is also spent in terms of mentoring, coaching. There's a lot of place that is there in terms of indirect costs where the people are not productive on the field. The productivity is to be measured later. Would that also be included in the budget?
Right, sir.
Absolutely. In that case, then you'll have the improvement of skill and knowledge. So there is an investment and there is an ROI also that has to be calculated. The organization has to see if the employee has got skilled, is better in terms of productivity. All those aspects have to be considered, yes or no? Because it has to meet the training objective. Then in that case, increase employee engagement and productivity. So elements are many. So why is training budget so important? It's just because your budget is interlinked with multiple other, cost elements and return on investment elements and other elements that is to be considered when you start measuring the outcome of the program. Hence, the budget for the program becomes very critical. So if you want to reduce attrition by training employees properly, give them proper guidance, give them a proper growth path, all those things get involved into the budget. Everything becomes a cost. Does anybody have a question here? See the last thing that I told you? Same assumption, this thing, improve customer service, sales turnover. All those aspects have to be taken into consideration. Okay, how many of you believe that the training budget comes from the various department and function budgets, and how many of you believe that it should come from the total organization budget?
No, this differs. I mean, both has to happen.
Has to happen,
If,
yes, no?
yes, so if we are talking about the upskilling and all those things like calendar programs or any other that need special need is coming with the co-creation with a particular department, that comes from the specific department or functional budget. But something that we do on the organizational wide for the high potential employees as a part of succession planning or building a pipeline, talent pool. So that becomes on the organizational budget. So differs. Both has to be balanced, I feel.
Okay. What about the others? What do you think? Preeti, Ramesh, Gopal, what do you think? Rahul?
Sir, Miss, I would agree with the Deepti, but somehow I think that it is more should come from the department wise. Uh, a particular department he raises some concern that they require certain training. So
Okay.
depending on those aspects, it should be decided.
Okay.
Sir, in our case, we used to conduct the organization development program, so we consider the cost for
Okay.
all the group persons, so not a department wise or a plant wise.
Okay. How many of you believe that it helps you in taking a financial decision when it comes to whether should we go ahead with this particular program or not? Bhakti says she's in agreement. Anybody else? Okay, how many of you believe that it also helps you to control expenses and manage in terms of anything in terms of return on those expenses? Control fact. Okay, Ankita says yes.
Yes,
How
sir.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
You agree to that? Okay. How many of you believe that it also brings in accountability?
Yes, sir. When return on investment is concerned in it, so we have there is accountability as well to find out the right person.
You bring in accountability. Okay. Let me ask you this question also. How many of you believe that if you have a training budget, it also helps you prioritize what is required for the moment? Okay. Prioritization, which is there, where you need to spend, where you don't need to spend. How many of you believe it also helps you in forecasting? How would you consider this, Prince? When you consider forecasting, what do you look into?
Herein, we can say that we are aware that how much particular budget we are going to spend for a particular department, for a particular skill set.
Okay.
So on that basis, we can further plan means forecast that what would be the means total outcome,
You can
means
decide.
expenditure.
Okay, wonderful. If I may ask you all, would this also enable you to take decisions whether to go ahead with a certain training or not? I mean to say data-driven decision making.
Sir, I'm finding this topic very interesting somehow, miss, but I have never experienced in the organizations I work, even in the present one. But what you are saying that data driven, it should be there. Means I'm in favor of that.
Let's say, for instance, Prince, I am one of your employee and I am in an operation function. Okay, so Prince, and you are bringing a new process flow into the organization, and I need to be agile enough to adapt into that because I'm getting rid of the old way of working. And the equipment that you're investing into is 100 crore equipment, and there are about, let's say, 60 people going to work on that in 3 shifts. Now, when you train on a technical area, is a data analytics or a data analysis required in terms of productivity per person on that machine?
Yeah, very much so.
So
Yes.
in the budget, if you are putting a person to bring out a certain output, so let's say it is supposed to bring out per shift in 8 hours, let's say for instance, 40,000 US dollar worth of output. Then in that case, would you consider that the productivity has to reach to that level and budget and plan the training man hours or the recurring training man hours in accordance?
Um, Sir, I'm very much in agreement with this. Even the stakeholders
Right,
who are allocating us budget, they look
right.
at the things in that particular way only. That what
Absolute
means increment would be there.
increment would be
So
there.
I think that would be a great idea to go ahead
Wonderful.
with.
In that case, in training, but should we also include performance evaluation, a metrics to basically study cost versus output design study?
Yeah.
Would you all agree to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If I can ask you, let's say you have a senior management who has to be viewed as an investor relationship because he's the person who's taking the decision to start the program or flag off the program. Would you also require the training budget to showcase or demonstrate sound financial returns to the senior management? Bhakti says
Yes.
yes. Would you all agree to? Now, the reason why I'm bringing forth all these points to all of you is a training budget is just not saying X amount of direct cost, Y amount of indirect cost, and Z amount of miscellaneous cost. It's taking the whole organization into view and to able to view and analyze every aspect of a person coming in and turning out or churning out to be more productive and effective. Do you all agree to this?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Done?
sir.
Done? Hence, the last bit of it is basically productivity. Do sales and profitability, productivity, or any aspect which is basically considered. Any queries so far?
Sir, can we have some examples from the group or from your side that
Okay.
how we can implement that this particular thing?
Okay. How many of you manage the execution of a training program? If I can have a yes or a thumbs up. I mean to say delivery of a training program. Okay, Rahul does. What about Preeti, Sudhakar, Sheshagri, Gopal, Ankita, Sandeep, Radhika? Execution of a program. Deepthi also says, okay. Now, the reason why I'm asking you this question is Prince asked this very important question, right? I'm doing a certain program. When I'm doing a certain program, what are the elements that I'll take into consideration while I have to showcase this program? So, Prince, just for a scenario or an example sake, Prince is going to deliver a program for mid-management leadership, a program called a LEAP program, which is going to be 6 months with 2 months of, mentoring and coaching to guide the mid-level people to the next level. So it's a program basically enhance their competency and skill set. So the training objective is about 10 competencies that the people need to develop by the end of the financial year. And Prince starts off delivering the program. So he is the person who's going to lead this program. When he's going to lead this program, I want the others also to think and help out Prince in understanding what are the various things that Prince will have to consider in his budget to showcase the senior management who's going to basically pick and choose 25 people for this particular program. What would they want in the budget for consideration?
the objective of the program, what they see means the top management wants from this middle level people to achieve after this training has been done.
What else would you consider? Let's say if you were in Sandeep's place.
The reputation of the hired staff, training staff,
Okay.
if they're external trainers,
Okay.
then the comfort of the residential program.
Okay. What else?
If it is an outstation program, then you can, according to the budget, you can
Okay.
decide that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So,
What
but there has to be some, minimality. We cannot drastically reduce at the cost of quality.
at the cost of a quality, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
So can we consider that return on investment also, because the leadership team, we are going to give the training to leadership team, and the indirect cost in terms of salaries also there, and what type of products means projects they are going to do in the future. So what kind of return on investment they are going to get. According to that, we can assess our cost.
Okay. What else?
Training need analysis cost.
Okay. In a program that is as long as this, would you consider Prince to consider the direct indirect cost elements?
So I think that would be the primary things that we need to consider.
Yes, sir.
Pardon me?
Sir, I said that I think that this direct and indirect cost involvement would be the primary thing that we should include.
Okay. What else?
In fact, if it's a 6-month journey, then every milestone will have that consideration.
Every milestone has to be considered? Yes. Okay.
It cannot be only just once.
Okay. Now, when Prince has to consider the rollout of such a program, what would you tell Prince to do? So, Prince, for the benefit of everybody, right? I'm just going to share this with you and let's have a discussion on this. Let's say Prince is doing this leadership program, which is going to run into a couple of months, right? Let's look at this sheet. So let's say we are on this year. So we have the year, the training subject, the date that we are doing. And Prince is going to deliver this program in several quarters, right? So he's going to have a department, a designation, and you're going to basically allocate in terms of how much is yours, how much is theirs. And then you're going to spend in terms of time, the cost which is there, all the direct and indirect cost, times in terms of hours, all those things, actual implementation, what percentage is implemented, with the specific remarks to the stakeholders, whether this program has gone off finally or not. And every quarter he has to take this approval to basically show a forward slide. We called it the forward slide because anybody who's into a program has to show a progression, which is a positive progression. Now, every quarter, the amount gets allocated based upon what you want to quantifiably see in terms of return. So there is an ROI, there's a training objective that needs to be met from the training need assessment that has been carried out. There is a training cost element also, and all the other elements that has to be considered into this. So even in this, there should be a personal development plan, which is called a PDP for a particular individual, or individual development plan that has to be planned in for a specific set of people if they're not able to get into that particular space which is there. Now, when you consider this, do you think that the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, the budget would be the same or would vary?
it would vary.
It
It
will
would-
vary.
Okay. If you need a much more senior trainer to take certain topics, or if you want somebody who's senior enough within your organization to take this topic, do you think that the budget would vary or not vary?
It would vary.
It would vary.
Very.
If you plan a venue other than your internal venue where you are doing the training, would the budget vary, not vary?
It is going to vary, sir.
Okay. Let's say if we bring a project element into the element of design and delivery, would the project cost vary, not vary? Hence, when you add in this element called time hours in terms of delivery of the program and execution of the program, you have to very clearly define the training objective, meeting the training, design, meeting the end objective, and the return on investment. So do you think that Prince objective would be only to showcase the budget or the return also in terms of percentage implementation? As per Kilpatrick's metric, you basically have all these stages. You want to see whether it's been implemented on. Would you look into that as well, Prince?
Yes, sir. Definitely, I would look at that. Somehow means I'm finding it more complex since if we go designation wise and
Absolutely.
number of man hours which are being consumed. So that
Absolutely.
will be definitely varying situation because
Right.
if we are taking middle leadership we are talking about, then they must be at the higher means I can say packages and all. So we should take in that too in consideration.
So, Prince, before even deciding a person's flow of learning, you also have to do a learning need analysis for the person, Prince. Do you agree to that?
Right, sir. Right.
Hence, the implementation level, would you think would vary for each individual?
Yeah, sure. That
Yes.
will be there.
Correct? Sarika, Ankita, would you agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
If
definitely.
that is there, then the budget would be the same or different?
It is going to be different. only, sir.
Different.
Now, do you have to justify your budget variance in terms of direct and indirect cost?
Right,
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 sir.
sir.
Right? And if you verify that, would you also have to show the actual implementation level increasing?
Right.
Do you
Yes.
justify it with data?
Yeah, that
Right,
will
sir.
be a supporting element. Will help us.
Absolutely. So when you bring a sheet like this on table, you're trying to say why you have the sheet and why do you have, and then there is a lot of a different element that goes behind the sheet also, which is a person-wise breakup in terms of the growth, the learning, the aspect of application, the actual implementation, the actual learning out of that, improvement, all those aspects have to be considered. Any questions? I'm going to just stop there. I'm not going to go any further because I want all of you to be very clear as facilitators, custodian of trainers to think about it.
So from a practicality perspective, is it not difficult to do it at an individual level? We usually, when we work in an organization, we work as a group, means a team of means 20 employees we considered as an when we consider as a budget perspective.
Sarika, you're absolutely right. May I ask you something, Sarika? Let's say, for instance, you're VP manufacturing, okay? And under you, you have 25 senior managers, okay? Who
Yes.
have moved into AGM levels for different units across the country.
Yep.
And you're putting them through a program that is essentially for improving the management development skills, individual development skills, and also for succession planning. Right?
Yeah.
These
Yes.
25 pool of people have been selected from a pool of, let's say, 200 senior managers.
Hmm.
And this is a focus group program or a close work group program. And you have to report about this directly to the CEO of the organization because he has flagged off this program.
Okay.
And hence the program progress is under the custody of one facilitator along with, let's say, 10 or 15 other external facilitators. In that case, Sarika, if you're doing this program, how will you try to view this program? Because this is a very important, prestigious program.
Work.
Would you get down to the details?
Yes, we have to get down to the details if it's at such a senior level program.
Right? Now, when the business doesn't do very well, what do they focus on? Or the business environment is not well, what do us people focus on?
Reducing the cost.
Reducing cost and increasing the ROI, correct?
Yes,
Hence, the actual implementation is important or not important?
important.
Hence, would you consider the element of checking and seeing and taking further approvals before you get into the completion of the program or tweak the program further?
Yes, it has to be done.
It has to be done. Then would you get into this depth of study is the question.
Yes, we have to get, means very true. It has to be gone to an individual level. But from an organization perspective level, when we work in our organizations, we usually take in a group or chunk of 5, maybe consider if a coaching sections is done or leadership program, for example, we take 10 people together from different departments, which we want their skill set to be increased. So we will take in a collective budget for those 10 people.
Okay. It is okay to do that. I wouldn't say that it is not okay to do that. But would you consider for a person who comes at, let's say, a CTC of 56 lakhs? Okay.
Definitely not. That we have to go individual level and then only project it to our senior management.
So that's what happens. So why I gave you this
Yes.
example is designations kept aside, there could be people with a higher pay package getting into a much more critical role and could be a prestigious project that the senior management wants to draw or run. Hence, training budget is given much more critical importance. Because you might end up investing through an IAM or some other ISB or others to see that the person has moved notches, right? Hence, the criticality becomes very important.
Correct. So one more question I had, when
Please.
you're deciding the budgets,
Mhm.
is it has to be a top-down approach or from down, means from managers to up? Means there's some ambiguity in my mind whether the management has to decide on the objectives and then we decide, break it down, ki like each department requires this skill set and then decide on the budget. Is this the flow of it? Means I have not worked in the budget section as such,
Okay.
but trying to understand the concept.
Okay, Sarika, let's say for instance, we do a training need analysis. Okay. There is a training need and a skill gap analysis conducted, function wise, department wise, role wise, right? Now,
Yes.
let's say it's a manufacturing concern and you have about close to 600 people who have come under this radar of a need to go through a skill development program or a skill improvement program, right? Now, a couple of programs that would have been identified out of this, like business communications or presentation skills and so on and so forth, would sound very generic, correct?
Yes.
When you have this generic specific program that has been delivered, do you think it's a generic program? It has to be tailor-made to the department and the function requirement or the so-called gap analysis that has been done?
Gap analysis, when we decide that we want to go in for a communication program, we decide with the stakeholders, managers, take in the basic, means at least 5 major points what is required from the down the line people, and then we compile all the departments if there are different kind of people coming from different departments to major 5 6 points which is the program which is most required by maximum of the people, and then we run that program.
Absolutely. So when you do this particular program, your focus is basically to cater to the requirement of a certain specific need or ask.
Correct.
Now, there are other programs also which are generic programs, or we call it open programs, correct?
Yes.
Where we do basic skill development, people self-nominate or the leaders nominate them, and they come for this program based upon their performance reviews or any other aspect which is there, correct?
Right.
Now, these particular programs have a fundamental budget saying that this should be the cost, and these many participants should be there for us to start the program or launch the program
Correct.
or have a facilitator. So there you have a fixed budget program. You say that, okay, at this budget, I want this program to be done. This is an ongoing program. And out of the entire calendar year, I take one person should at least do 2 programs, which is 16 man hours at a junior level.
Yes.
But at various other levels, when you do a budgeting, there are specific reasons why you're asked to budget. Because the cost element of developing the content, doing the analysis, doing the study, creating the entire portfolio of this thing, hiring a trainer, since you don't have the expertise inside, or getting a person who's senior from a very senior role who's, being away from job is a very big cost element. You have to prepare a training budget.
Noted, sir.
Noted?
Yeah.
Hence, it depends from organization to organization and from training program to training program. How do you want to do it? Any queries,
No.
ladies and gentlemen? Yes, Sarika.
No, sir, no queries.
Okay.
Thanks. Really, thanks. It will help me a lot.
Anybody else? Rahul, Bhakti, Radhika, Prince, Ankita, Ramesh, Sneha, Vaishnavi, Sudhakar, any questions? Now, since you have this idea, I have this further question to all of you. I want all of you to think from the stakeholders' point of view. Effective utilization of resources, wonderful. What else? Thank you, Deepthi.
Sir, how can means how I look at this is like, first of all, organization doesn't want their performing employees not to leave the organization. They should stick to the organization.
Right.
So it would be a sort of employee engagement program like we discussed in the last topic, I can say. Out of 200 people, we are selecting only 20. So those must be the high performers. And if we, if or they are already high performers, and if one we are engaging them in some activity, second, because they would feel like that they are learning something with the organization. And secondly, whatever the competencies they require to develop, they would be improving in that, and furthermore, it will reflect in the outcome they produce in their performance.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I have one that Shesh has also sent. I would request all of you to look at what Shesh has sent in the chat which is there. I want all of you to look into that as well. Here is the first element. People want development. So when people join organizations, if they have to stay, like Prince mentioned, development is required. Second is effectiveness of the training program. Always anybody who spends looks into effectiveness. So you bring in a certain kind of a vehicle that you purchase, you want effectiveness. So anything which is there, tracking of effectiveness, implementation is critical. Identify areas where training is needed. A lot of training programs happen. There is no point in having a lot of training programs. You have to have specific tailor-made training programs to meet the requirement. Now, your initiatives have to be planned based upon both organization function as well as, the task or the strategy that has been planned across. So hence, when you do this, there are several steps to be followed. A company goal an organization divisional goal has to be studied. There you identify a training need. In the training need, you estimate what is the cost, which is the direct, indirect element cost. You set a budget method. So you set whether you're going to have anything in terms of a fixed budget for a year or a floating budget for a year. Then you allocate funds basically depending upon each organization's contribution to it and how do you basically want to design it. You prepare for the unexpected. Why you prepare for the unexpected costs? A lot of training programs are planned to be completed in certain time, but factually the programs end up going into a further swing which is there, and hence resource, material list, everything has to be studied because people learning curve would be different, understanding curve would be different. Then calculate the ROI, evaluation tools, and review and adjust the entire program to fit into not the budget but into the training objective. We always look at the budget, but we forget to uh, justify the budget with the training objective, and that becomes very critical. Does anybody have a question here? Now, this would not be true for all the programs, but nevertheless, it has to align with the goals of the organization, the function, or the division that we are trying to do the program for. Any questions? Any questions, which is there?
What can be unexpected costs?
Let's say, for instance, you have a program that was initially planned for 1 day, right? Let's call that a strategic development program. And you find that from the pre-assessment of that particular program initiative that has gone through a leadership program, the participants cannot do it in 1 day.
Okay.
Let's say there's a fallout also of a couple of participants. Shesh, fallout a lot of participants.
Okay.
And then you have to do another batch also. That could also happen.
Okay. Okay.
You're about to ask something else also, Shesh.
Yeah. Are there any, Harvard Business Review case studies where a company has given X amount of budget and midway it has cut the cost to half the amount, and still the training in charge has taken it forward and finished the program with a good ROI?
What had happened? I'll tell you a real life scenario, Shesh. I can't name the organization though, since our session is recorded. It's a big organization in India and it employs a lot of people. They started off a program to onboard their third-party vendors, right? And when the onboarding process started, they thought that they will do city-wise training. So they'll put 50 vendor partners into a particular room and they'll train them up in terms of, how to handle package, move the shipments across. They found that this was not working very effectively as the region which was there is too vast. And the language and the other aspects of it was a difficulty. Hence, what they thought is they'll do small bite-sized sessions, through a platform which is on the LMS, where the person can access the LMS online over a phone, and B, that they would do a session which is an online session. Hence, they cut short the entire budget, okay, of physical session to virtual sessions. But the number of man-hours quarter tripled in terms of delivery. Because they found that even if you do the physical session, the return on understanding of a particular program or the engagement of a program or return on investment of a program is very minuscule. But through repeated interaction, the person gets to a certain skill level or learning level. And hence they change the entire aspect.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions so far? Now, since we have reached so far, there is also another question that I have, wherein what would be you doing to calculate your training cost? What would be the elements that you'll consider to calculate the training cost? From whatever we have learned so far, whatever journey we had so far. Sudhakar, Preeti, Bhakti, Rahul, Sneha, Deepti, Prince, Nikita.
Trainers cost, logistics.
Okay. Let's start with this. The second element that we're going to consider is different budgeting methods. How do we basically do outsource, in-house, whatever we plan to do, indirect, direct cost, how do we plan to reduce? Factors in all the
Yeah.
costs,
All these factors.
right? Be realistic about the budget, whether this is going to work together, not work together. Get a buy-in from leadership before we start doing anything. Would you agree to this? Thank you, Deepti. Others?
So when we propose a training budget, should we also consider plan A, plan B, plan C?
Yes, Shesh. Let's say, for instance, Shesh, all of a sudden the training has been considered and you don't get a venue, Shesh, because, you have marriage and other things, right? Your cost increases drastically.
Yes.
Last minute, the trainer drops out.
Okay. Exigencies has to be considered.
Absolutely. All those things have to be considered.
No, the fear is if there are 3 total budgets given to the top management, they may go for the least.
Yeah, Ashish, you have to justify the numbers also. Don't you have to? Let's say, for instance, you have 3 agencies in consideration. Let's call them training academies or institutions in consideration. You just go with the cost, or you'll also look at the element which is very drastically required.
Yeah, the second one, yeah.
Right? So we'll have to consider all different methods of basically negotiation also when it comes to this. Any questions? Now, the reason why we are going through all these aspects of it is when you consider, especially, the training cost calculation, there are several other elements. Now, thinking of whatever we have covered so far, what do you think would be the varied elements? Let's calculate the training cost. Okay. Now you are going to call for a training. What are the elements that you'll take into consideration? You determine the training need, different budget methods that you can do it in-house, externally, hire through an agency, cost model, all those things you can do. Percentage of salary that has to be considered, pre-employee basis, which is there, training cost per employee. Factor in all the costs that has to be taken into consideration. Training materials and equipment, trainers' fees, travel and lodging expenses, employee time, including replacement time, which is there, overheads, being realistic about your budget, which is there, negotiate with vendors, take advantage of free or low cost resources, partner with other organizations, use learning management system, hiring external consultants or subject matter experts, Besides that, you could also get a buy-in from leadership. So you break it down to all those finer elements before you get into the cost. You know, a lot of times you want to run the program and then they find that the direct expense is okay, the indirect expense is humongous. The entire design itself would change. It also so happens you plan a program in a certain quarter, let's say July, August, September. July, August, September doesn't work for you for a specific reason. You plan it during October, November, December. October, November, December, flight costs, everything increases. Would this impact your overall budget? Hence, whenever you design a budget, please forecast elements of surprise, things that are beyond your control. And hence the budget preparation, which is also there, would have a variance analysis also done. Hence, you will have X as an estimate or a forecast for a particular program, but Y being the element of surprise, that Y has to be hence discussed out with senior management, or buy-in has to be brought in for the business to execute this program. And hence, calculating the budget becomes even more critical at every stage. That's all for today. The rest of the 8 minutes I have kept in separately for Q&A so that you can clear off your queries, you can clear off your doubts, and then we close the session. Prince, Rahul, Bhakti, Ramesh, Ankita, Deepti, Sriram, Sudhakar, Sarika, Sheshagri, Sudhakar. Any questions, Neha?
I just wanted to cite an example.
Mm-hmm.
See, when I joined public sector
Mm-hmm.
in my first year of career, so there was a 1 year training period.
Correct.
And there was a built-in, bond. And they said if you leave the training program, you have to pay 2 lakhs. That time my salary was only 1,500 rupees initially.
Correct.
So are there such practices in work even today?
Yes, there are. There is a certain
where the management
several
insists
organizations. Yes, there is.
Okay.
There is something which is called as a program, which is called an MDP program, or a program wherein an employee has to sign in a bond. It happens.
Yes,
Rahul,
we used to do that. We used to do that. So we are used to conduct a active personal productivity program through LMI, leadership management. So it's a 9-week training program that's applicable for GM and above. So we used to have a 1 lakh rupees bond signed from them. So they have to serve 1 year period after the training program. We used to do that.
Thank you so much, Ramesh. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask you all, has this been useful so far? Whatever we have learned for now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Right?
new insights
Yeah.
are in the budget aspect, na?
Yeah. So please don't. I would request all of you not to look at budget as just, yaar, itna cost mein apne ko ye program karna. Don't look at it like that. Please look at it in a holistic view. And if you are spending for a program for your organization and you are the leadership, how would you view that program? How would you assess that program? There are certain amount of complexities that will definitely come, but data has to speak and there should be justifiable elements also into it. Yeah, somebody had a question. Shesh, did you have a question?
No, I finished with it.
You're finished with it.
Will you be sharing the pro forma that you were displaying?
Yeah, I will be sending you the entire thing, in fact.
Okay.
The slide would come across to all of you.
So if there is no question, so as per last class, so you give us one exercise that by using the resource and what we can say training spaces. So we have to develop the one training program by
Yes.
using that 5 minutes. So I just tried to do that.
Okay.
The one presentation I can show to you, but I just tried it. Just spent a
Wonderful.
few.
Would you like to share it? Would you like to
Sure,
show the others?
I can show you, sir.
Okay, you
So
can
just
share
give me
it.
a right, sir.
I'll just give you the right. Just give me a moment.
I don't know how much that it is, but still I just try to
Yeah,
write
but
something.
still, you can still do it. I'm
Yes,
making you a co-host. Have you got the co-host rights?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. For the benefit of everybody, we can discuss it out.
Yes, sir. Are you able to see this, sir, my
Yeah,
slides?
thank you so much. Yeah, Rahul, go ahead.
So I have developed the management development program. So
Okay.
we are already doing this to some extent. So I just give some external flavor that we have learned.
Okay.
So so first I have defined the learning objectives. So
Okay.
we have to develop the effective frontline leaders, and we have to develop the succession planning.
Okay.
So in this, we have to impart the behavior management skills, and we wanted to achieve the operational excellence through the process improvement business excellence model. And we have to achieve the excellence in PQCD, SME pillar. Basically, it is productivity, quality, cost, delivery, safety, morale, and environment.
Right.
So, so I have developed that program overview where I
Okay.
have defined the eligibilities from aim to manager, what will be the best size, and what kind of persons we are going to select. So we are going to select the good to excellent category person and faculty, and the venues also decided. So like an auditorium, Yamuna Seminar Hall, Ravi Conference Room, and Godavari IT Live. And there is a product program details also. So I have divided that into that. So first we're going to do the contact setting program for half day, and behavior training program for 2 days, and the process improvement business excellence program for 2 days. Then there will be shop floor visit. Then we help them to identify some projects, and so and then they're going to implement the projects. And there is a fresher program, and there will be the project review also. So all these 5 models evaluation I have tried to incorporate in that.
Wonderful.
So like this is the contest setting program. So we wanted to give that overview of the training program. So what going to do? So this will so the venue I have decided is the auditorium. So where all
Okay.
the person can gather, and that
Okay.
will be the program details. So first we
Okay.
will do the lamp lighting ceremony, and there will be the opening from the business head, Lucia, and we get having a participant introduction, and there will be the presentation where we used to showcase the roadmap, and there will be a tea break and program schedule discussion, question answer, and closing remarks. And I have also prepared a resource checklist also, a little bit of, but resources I have required for conducting this program. So just a brief, and then I have created a detailed sheet also, like the
Wonderful.
resources are that mentions the stationery items required or gate pass required, booking of room. So what kind of stationery items are required in that?
Wonderful.
So I have created that, and it's in the form of a checklist. So if it is a context setting program, what kind of stationery items or materials required, formats required, and lunch, tea, snacks, and gate pass, lamp lighting, confirmation, and everything. I just wanted to incorporate in that.
Wonderful.
So yes, then I have also decided the sitting room setup also. So this is just a pictorial of that, and the programs I have defined for the contact setting program, what will be the sitting capacity and what kind of style I wanted to have, and then behavior training program, what kind of style program I have to have if we wanted to do the activities, what kind of style we want to have, sitting style. Same type, same. I have developed the manager development program. So this will be the first module. So we wanted to impart the behavior and management aspect to that. For that, I have used the seminar hall, conference room, and Godavari IT lab also. Lab. So same for the for module one behavior and training program, we're going to use the seminar hall. And for the team activities, I have decided to do some conference room where we can divide it the team into the CFT cross functional teams. They will do the conference to the team activity. And I have also included some profiling, social profiling or a psychometric assessment where we used to have a lab where the person can have a few questionnaires and they can do such activity. And then module two, and then same resource checklist I have prepared for that.
Wonderful. Excellent. This is amazing.
Yes. Then the process improvement and business excellence program also.
Okay.
So this will be the this will be the technical program.
Okay.
So I have used the Yamuna seminar hall and conference room also. So
Okay.
seminar halls we will use to do the classroom training program, and also I have incorporated the shop floor visit also.
Excellent.
And there will be the CFT formation for the project identification. So what projects after doing these all the modules, what projects we can do, and for that the conference room I have selected and that, and
Okay.
there will be the program wrap up and reflection meeting also that for that also, and there is separate resource checklist is available for that. After doing that all the training program, so there will be we will provide them a refresher session as well as we will give them time period of 6 months where they have to implement and execute all the projects that they have taken with the CFT.
Right.
And then there will be the project review where we can assess that what the what will be the return on expectations or return on investment
Right.
we can discuss. So the program details I have mentioned in that, and auditorium we have selected for that, and there is a source checklist also I have prepared. So it's
Wonderful.
just a brief I was thinking of. So I just created a just a brief presentation
Oh,
on
this
that.
is a
I
good
thought
job.
it
This is
will
an
be
excellent
beneficial
job done. That's amazing. What I
in
would
case
request
there
you
is.
to do is, since you have done this, you start preparing the training budget as well.
Yes, definitely, sir. Next time I will prepare a training budget for this MTP program.
Wonderful. Excellent.
I will try. Any
Excellent.
inputs and anyone from the team wanted to add in that? I just try to. I was sitting and I just try to prepare everything.
Good. Wonderful. Ramesh says thumbs up. Wonderful. I have a humble request to all of you. You try out more, you experiment more, it will help you. Whatever you have learned, if you can practically implement, it's going to help you out a lot. A wonderful try, Rahul. Excellent work done. Bhakti is also, yeah, good work. Keep on doing it because you'll progress a lot further, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for your patience on a Sunday evening. Thank you so much. Rahul, once again, great work and effective, discussion by all of you. Thank you so much. See you soon next week. And until then, stay safe and you'll get the file from the ISTD office. Thanks a ton, all of you. Have a wonderful
sir.
evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.